Hello, my name is Betsy Lake, and I'm here with Robyn Nichols, and we are here to present our final PLC presentation. So the name of our presentation is Connecting Theory to Practice and the Teacher's Role. In my part of our presentation, I will present information pertaining to the role of teacher as an educated human being. I will present the definition of this role and a theory that I believe supports it. I will include information from an interview I had with a professional in the field, and lastly, I will connect these areas to my personal thoughts on the topic. Lavedens includes Schulman's adaptation of Model for Teacher Understanding by Walke to show the imperative roles taken by accomplished teachers in SLA. In this model, the teacher as an educated human being is defined as knowledgeable of basic English linguistics and of socio-political factors that influence academic achievement for diverse learners. In the classroom, we can see this applied. Effective teachers utilize their knowledge of English while also considering regional, dialectical, and attitudinal differences between themselves and their students. Both the definition and classroom application definitions are located on page 40 of the CAT Journal. Now, how can we fulfill this role? First, let's take a look at experience. I had the pleasure of shadowing Jane Watson as she taught 2 beginner intermediate classes over Zoom. I enjoyed learning from Jane and was interested in her story as an educator. Jane started volunteering at a Danish refugee center, tutoring English while she lived overseas. When she returned to the States, she decided she could do the same here and earned her master's degree in TESOL. Her only regret is that she wishes that she would have done it sooner. I asked her this question: do you incorporate culturally responsive pedagogy into your teaching? And if so, how? She said, I try and connect what the learners are learning in the lesson with how the topic relates to their native countries. I am authentically interested in hearing about other cultures. Eliciting information to compare and contrast is a natural part of my classes. It is important to me that my learners feel proud of their heritage. So, what practical methods can we apply, and what does she apply in her classroom? One of the theories that I think supports this view is the sociocultural constructivist approach to teaching English as a second language. As described by Lavedens, sociocultural approaches give priority to knowing who the students are and implies that teachers seek to understand the perspectives and experiences of students. And this is found on page 29 of the CAT Journal. So, in order for Jane to get to know her students better and to allow the students to get to know each other better, she asks simple questions. For example, when discussing the reading Dia de los Muertos, Jane asked her Vietnamese student, what's the word for that in Vietnamese? And is there a holiday in your native country that is similar? Key point, let's take this a step further. If we as teachers are educated and sympathetic human beings, maybe we can create this in our classrooms. Jane says, it is also important for learners to find value in each other's cultures, which helps to establish safety for all parties. In fact, Jane encourages her students to speak up in her classes, even blurt out answers. To her, it's okay if the class gets a little chaotic at times. So, connecting again to this approach, we can engage students by making learning relevant for them and applicable to real-world situations. In this example, Jane made the text relatable, and she encouraged discussion among the students. So, my experience and takeaway. First, I want to give you a little background on myself. My journey with ESL began last October. I began volunteering at Alpha GR on Tuesday nights. It was here that I began tutoring a group of ladies in English. I quickly fell in love with ESL. I also quickly realized I needed more skills. I came to the conclusion that education is imperative. It's essential. I believe in order to be a successful instructor, I need more knowledge of teaching practices, effective methods, and need to continually gain a better understanding of who my students are and who they want to be. And this is why I've chosen to focus on teacher as an educated human being. My concluding thoughts are, I want to be a teacher who knows her stuff and provides a safe environment for her students by taking the time to understand them and their home cultures. And I want to be knowledgeable about SLA theories, and also be an a consistent encourager. Thanks for listening. I'm going to turn this over to my friend and colleague, Robyn Nichols.
Thank you, Betsy. That was very informative. And now I will go over the teacher's role as an educator in second language acquisition. And I will go over, like Betsy, I will go over the definition and theory. I will give examples from an interview I conducted and experience I gained, and then I will also make real world connections. As Betsy stated, Levitin's includes a model for teacher understanding by Waukee. In this model, one of the roles of the teacher is as an educator. I chose this because it draws upon my experience in K-12 education, middle school education, and how I can apply my experience to teaching adults. Levitin says on page 40 that an effective teacher plans instruction based on knowledge of the target language and of the content as informed by students' backgrounds and needs output. How can we apply this to our classroom? As teachers, we can assess, we can design curriculum, and we can instruct students in linguistically and academically appropriate ways. And how can we fulfill this role? This is what part of my presentation will be on. I conducted an interview with Cindy Hunt from Columbus State University, and she teaches a class of English learners for academic and specific purposes. And some of the questions I asked her were about curriculum and teaching strategies. Question, do you use a curriculum? Do you like the curriculum that you use? She stated that the curriculum that they use is based on the global scale of English objectives, and the adult standard for English language learners. She stated that their curriculum is based on integrated skills with a specific focus towards production. And she also stated that it is not a packaged curriculum that they pick and choose from here and there based on what their students need the most. I also asked her what teaching strategies work the best. She says that she really likes to introduce students to reflective and metacognitive strategies in order for her students to move in the direction of self-correction and self-reflection. So it's building a framework or scaffolding them for what they will be doing in their future classes. She also stressed integration across the domains of reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And she also talked about collaboration across language levels and language groups, with different language people, different language groups learning from each other. I also had field experience in the UAB's Community English program, which I really enjoyed. Two of my students were Brazilian, Portuguese-speaking level 2 students. They were a married couple. And I developed lesson plans based on both the input from the students, what they wanted to learn, and the CEP's semester learning outcomes. So I combined those to provide the best learning experience for my students. I identified specific language learning outcomes for each lesson based on what they wanted and based on the CEP's goals. We included instruction using technology, videos, Google Classroom, Kahoot, quizzes, and we also did synchronous and asynchronous learning activities. And one of the strategies that I used that I really liked, and I used this a lot, was we asked our two students to reteach to each other what they learned in their breakout sessions. So the husband had to reteach to the wife, and the wife had to reteach to the husband to really make sure they understood what they learned. The connection to the cognitive framework. Cognitive framework refers to the understanding of information and concepts from what you learn. So in designing lessons for our CEP students, we've tried to begin with the end in mind. What do we want our students to learn? What are our desired outcomes? What based on what they want to learn and based on the standards? How do we know when our students have achieved this desired outcome? How do we assess our students? How can we help our students retain information that they gained and replicate the desired outcome? Long-term learning, long-term application and retention of information. And what strategies can we use to help our students? So we incorporated differentiated instruction, multimodal learning, all different types of strategies. Finally, in application, we need to be responsive to our students' needs and think about what strategies we use. Is this strategy the best strategy? Or is that strategy the best strategy? Will my students develop the best outcome from learning if I use this or that strategy? How can I use multiple strategies in conjunction with each other? Our conclusion is that both Betsy and I chose to focus on education, and we believe that this is what truly equips us. We agree that finding instructional strategies that are the most effective in teaching and learning will benefit our students.
We must draw on students' backgrounds in order to successfully make personal connections within the classroom. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thanks for watching.